Thank you for all the reds in celebration of Valentine's Day. It's always, I think, a fun day, very tongue-in-cheek. But, you know, I've thought this morning, let's do a quick survey on what consumers actually think. So our producer went around the office and got some attitudes around Valentine's Day. And guess what? The majority said Valentine's Day is a money-making scam, as opposed to a valid tradition of celebrating love and affection. However, this doesn't mean they're not spending on Valentine's Day. So the big question here is, where does the pressure come from? Do we think the pressure comes from the partner side? Mike, what do you think? It's like pressure, pressure, pressure. I want the flowers, I want the gifts, I want the chocolates.
Yeah, I think people love to claim that it is a big money-making scam, but you know how it is? If you forget not to celebrate it with your partner, you're in big trouble.
Big trouble.
So
absolutely, it's like even worse than forgetting the anniversary.
And especially, you know, for females, you celebrate every opportunity you can to, you know, celebrate moments of love.
Of course.
So I think, without a doubt, if you don't do it as a male, you're in big trouble.
Big trouble. Okay, what do you think, Ryan?
I don't think it's the money of it. I think that males don't like being put on the spot. I think that's the challenge. This is a day that says to every male, look,
you have to.
Yeah, you've got to celebrate your love for somebody. And most males kind of forget that, and that's why there's so much conflict often between men and women, is women want that and men kind of don't give it.
Men just maybe see the dollar signs where women, I don't know, Shayna, are you with me on this? Where women think, you know, we like the traditions, nice to be pampered, yes, it's nice to have jewelry.
I think it can be quite intimidating for a lot of men, largely because there is this need for you to spend money, but I'm a hopeless romantic. I think it's wonderful, and in fact today for the first time I actually read on the history of Valentine's Day, which I'm sure you'll go into.
Yes, absolutely.
And that really inspired me, and I think it's quite special. And if Valentine's Day is cliched, then well, Christmas is cliched, so I think it's something to be celebrated.
Because a good point that you make, and if we're going to go through now the history and whatever, but you know, should we change the perception then of Valentine's Day? Should we do a pure spin on it and say, you know, forget about the commercial value of it and let's go back to the traditional and actually the heritage of it, Mike?
You know, my feeling is that it should be love is spontaneous. You know, you shouldn't have to rely on one day to show your love to somebody else, you know. And I think that's where particularly males struggle with it, is that you don't want to be put on the spot to tell your partner that you love them. You want to be able to do it in a manner where it has true meaning and that is very natural and very spontaneous. And if we can try and capture that with Valentine's Day and move away from the commercial aspects of it and be on the pressure to deliver when you're not feeling very inspired, then I think we could be successful.
But on the other hand, isn't it nice to look forward to a day like Valentine's Day, because it's the planning and where we're going for dinner and what are we getting and whatever, Ryan? Do you feel under pressure?
I do, but I think that's a good thing. I really do. In other words, if relationships were all hunky-dory all of the time, there wouldn't be a need for such a day. I think that kind of pressure isn't a bad thing. Obviously, we make money out of it, so that's
the commercial side of it.
Yeah. But opening a door for a lady, right? All it does is it puts you in a frame of mind that says there needs to be some respect shown. I think that's what it does. It kind of says, well, hold on. You're supposed to be having this wonderful relationship. Maybe your wife doesn't think so, maybe she does, but here's a day where you just focus, exactly what you said, planning. You can focus on just expressing that.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Okay, let's look at where it comes from. And I know it's quite a mystery and there's a few legends, but this is the one that I'm going with. Okay, so tell me if you agree. About the priest Valentine that married young couples secretly because the emperor banned marriage because for young men, because they were going as soldiers to the war, whatever the case may be. So he got caught, got sent to death, and fell in love with his prisoner's daughter.
Who was blind.
Who was blind. Oh, you also read the same story. Okay, fabulous. So we're on the same page.
Blind love.
And then the day before his execution, he wrote her a note and said, by my Valentine, or from my Valentine. So do you agree with that story? Are we all on the same page?
That's the common one you find.
That's the common one. Okay, so we stick with it.
That's generally what
okay,
you
so
find,
we stick with that story. So we've come a long way, because then after that, Valentine's Day was a commemoration of his death and love and whatever the case may be, and people handed little notes to one another. So from there, back in the Roman days, back in the day, to today, it's changed quite a bit. How have you seen it change through the years, Shayna?
Well, I think largely, you know, your gifting doesn't need to be expensive, but it has become quite an expensive thing. Chocolates, flowers, jewelry, whatever you're buying, it is expensive. And I think that it is unfortunate that from those Roman days, from a little note or a token, a little rock on the side of the road with a little inscription on it, that's special, and maybe that's how we need to go back, you know. But I think there's scope to change it and to make it more sustainable and organic and beautiful and lovely, and that can be done.
Do you guys agree?
You know, I think if it comes down to celebrating love, that's a magnificent thing. So, you know, the good thing about the day is that it is celebrating love, which is one of the biggest drivers of the world. So it's very exciting in that respect. As long as we don't sway or steer away from that, then it's an absolutely worthwhile day doing.
Right. Okay, but then let's get back to the fact. You know, it's been coined as being one of the most successful marketing ideas of all time. So let's talk about the commercial, because you are marketing and brand managers of big brands that capitalize on a day like Valentine's Day. So talk us through, Ryan. I mean, you're in the flower business. This is your day, isn't it?
This is our day. There's good and bad about that. There's good and bad about that, because the challenge is the capacity, and that's the case all over with each category. So a restaurant, you can't get into a restaurant on Valentine's evening, so that's a problem. So what they've done in America is they've actually tried to change it from Valentine's Day to Valentine's week. They've tried to split the capacity challenges so that there isn't so much demand on one day, because it's very, very tricky. For us, it's tricky as well. There's a capacity to how many flowers we can deliver. To give you a sense, on a normal day in South Africa, we deliver 700-800 deliveries. On Valentine's Day, we can do 10,000, and that's in one day. So you're taking a business, and it has to time significantly. So one of the ways to get around that is to ease it into a week. And that also allows people to plan different things. Maybe you want to use the weekend for something, and you can get into a restaurant if it's over a week. So,
but is it the same?
Well, in America, they're reasonably successful. This idea of week has caught on. And they've done it just because everything's too expensive.
I was just going to say, it'd be more cost effective.
Absolutely. A restaurant can charge whatever they want on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Because this is the question, and I want to put you in the hot seat for 1 second and say why the markup, up to 300% on flowers, Ryan. Is it a capacity issue then?
It's a demand issue. So
I know prices, yeah,
that's what it is. So
driven by demand, but still.
Well, let me give you a sense. What happens at the farm level is it takes 6 weeks for a rose to grow. Once you cut it, it takes 6 weeks to grow. So what farmers do is 6 weeks before Valentine's Day, they cut all their rose bushes, because it's much better for them for that rose to be sold on Valentine's Day as a week before or a week after. So they cut the rose, they sell it on Valentine's Day for whatever they want to sell it, because they'll sell it. So that's why if you spread it over a week, in any environment, on a restaurant, anything you're selling, the price will come down, and that helps everybody, and it helps capacity. So
because you don't charge more for your chocolates.
No, we don't. But you know, if I had to be honest with you, we don't make a huge amount of money out of Valentine's Day. Now, yes, we do see some spikes in sales of our regular brands, because you know it was one of the big, you know, presents for Valentine's Day. But when it comes to things like special Valentine's editions of products and things like that, you know, when you look at the fact that it is only one day, so building on your point, if it could run over a week, it would be more successful. But because it's running over one day, you've got this build up to that day. People invariably only buy the day before anyway, or on the day, and then you've got all these write-offs afterwards.
Right.
And then you've got big marketing campaigns to drive it. So by the time you're taking all that into account, it's actually not profitable for us at all.